It's the Go Gopher Podcast with Mike Grimm, episode number 148. I am Mike Grimm, voice of the Golden Gophers, and welcome back to the podcast. We have an outstanding show set up for you this week as one of the most exciting athletes in all of college sports, regardless of sport, will join us. Golden Gopher superstar wrestler Gable Steveson has decided to use his final year of college eligibility, and he'll make his Golden Gopher season debut this Sunday when Campbell University comes to Maturi Pavilion. He has not wrestled for the Gophers in almost 3 years. This will be his first ever appearance on the Go Gopher Podcast as well, and you're going to love it. He's a gold medalist and a two-time national champion. Our Go Gopher Podcast is presented by Sunbelt Business Advisors and True North Mergers and Acquisitions. If you're a business founder planning to exit your business, start by contacting Sunbelt Business Advisors and True North Mergers and Acquisitions. Sunbelt serves more businesses up to $5 million in revenue than anyone, and True North M&A serves companies with revenues up to $150 million. Get a confidential, no-cost, no-obligation business valuation started today. Make the most of your life's work. Visit sunbeltminnesota.com or tnma.com today. Affinity Plus Federal Credit Union is also a big sponsor of the Go Gopher Podcast. Life math is complicated, and Affinity Plus Federal Credit Union makes it easier with local financial experts available to help in person or virtually. Go to affinityplus.org/Go Gophers for more info. We also want to thank Affinity Plus for sponsoring our player profile segment with today's guest, Gable Steveson. Gable will receive a gift card for his appearance courtesy of Affinity Plus Federal Credit Union. They are the best. Longtime Gopher sports supporter, Cub is a proud sponsor of the Go Gopher Podcast with Mike Grimm. In a hurry? Don't worry. Cub delivers. Get fresh meat, produce, everyday essentials, and more delivered to your door. Cub is the official grocer of the Golden Gophers and proud to support Gopher athletics for over 20 years. The Go Gopher Podcast is also presented by OnX Hunt, and we're podcasting episode 148 from the Aquarius Home Services studio. We invite you to subscribe to the Go Gopher Podcast. It's free to do so. You can go back and listen to previous Go Gopher Podcast as well. Last week, for example, we talked Golden Gopher hockey with standout forward Connor Kurth. He's always a must listen. He gave us some great insight on the nationally ranked club. This week, we're talking Golden Gopher wrestling with the great Gable Steveson. He'll join me next.
I'm Clay Geary, walk-on turned scholarship wide receiver for Gopher football.
And I'm Ben Utek, U of M alumni, Super Bowl champion, and Tony Dungy Uncommon Award winner.
We understand championship culture, which is why we're part of the True North family of companies.
True North invests in only elite teams, like the champion team at Sunbelt Business Advisors, Minnesota's largest seller of companies. To learn more about True North and our diverse family of independently owned companies, visit TrueNorthEquityPartners.com.
When we say that Cub milk is the freshest in town, we mean it. Less than 48 hours from farm to store fresh. We guarantee 7 days or more of freshness. It all starts with local dairy farmers who take great care in making sure all the cows are happy and healthy. We support local farm families 365 days a year. And that makes our milk even more delicious. So you always get the freshest milk and the biggest smiles.
It's episode 148, and we have, well, one of the greatest of all time, Gable Steveson with us, Gopher wrestler. Had this been maybe a week ago, I'd have said former Gopher wrestler, but here you are, back again. Great to see you.
Nah, thank you. How are you?
Doing great, and I'm excited for Sunday.
Me too.
Bet you
it's
back in
really
a
nice.
singlet.
Yeah, it's going to be really nice.
It's a top 10 matchup, too, it sounds like.
It is,
The
yes.
Campbell guy's pretty good?
Yes, he is.
Yeah. Now, when you get ready to wrestle, how do you scout an opponent, or do you worry much about what your guy's going to do that you're taking on?
I think I just see everybody as the same. Just treat them the same, and if you go out there and do that, then you know what you can do. So I know who guys are, and I see guys, and I've watched guys, but that doesn't mess up anything that I want to do.
Yeah, you just go be yourself.
Yeah,
as you like to say, go be Gable.
Yeah,
you know who Gable
one
is.
One of a kind, right there.
So let's go back. Let's talk about because you haven't wrestled in a college match for almost 3 years now, into 22, right? You won the national title. Yeah. So we're approaching. I mean, by the time you would hit nationals again, we're talking 25. So right, just a few months. So it's almost been 3 years. You've had a lot of different things. You've won a gold medal in there. You've been with the WWE for a time. You've been in the NFL for a time. I mean, you've been a busy guy.
Yeah, I've been a lot of places, a lot of good places. I've always said that if anything new popped up that I want to try, and I'm an opportunist. So if the Minnesota Twins reached out and wanted me to play baseball, or the Wild wanted me to play hockey, I would get up and try it. I mean, why not? Because at the end of the day, when I'm 50 years old, people are going to look back at it and be like, man, look at this. Look at this. And he's done a lot of things.
He's got a body of work there that's pretty cool. Can you hit? Can you skate? Maybe the Twins and Wild will do that. Yeah.
But nothing too crazy. Maybe I could play first base or left field or something. I'm lefty, so it works out.
But lefties can last longer, too, in terms of everyone needs a left-handed hitter, a left-handed pitcher, left-handed thrower.
Or even DH.
Or DH.
That's fine.
You could do that. You could be a late-inning pinch hitter, maybe.
That's all.
So take me through the process. At what point? I know you were tempted last year, right? And things didn't necessarily align to say, I want to try college wrestling and maybe do, I guess I'd call it like an encore season. This is like a curtain call, so to speak, right? Which I'm really looking forward to. But take me through the process of the decision and why now and why even come back at all, right? You've done everything you need to do. I mean, I've heard critics, quote, say, why is he doing this? He's done everything you need to do in college wrestling.
I just think it was just the best scenario for me to come back. I mean, last year we tried it just wasn't the right time. This year, I think the stars aligned the right way. And why would I come back? It's just because why wouldn't you? You know, you get to wrestle in front of fans again. You get to put yourself out there. And I think I wanted to lead into my next career path that I want to do. And so coming back and getting that refresh and getting that restart was definitely a big thing for me. And I just wanted to make the most of it. And if I had the year left, don't leave nothing on the table. Right. You know, when I left in 2022, a big thing wasn't just why did I leave it at that time and when I had the next year left. And so just looking back on it, I wish that I could have just finished everything the way I wanted to finish it and not leave anything behind. And so with the year left, I don't want to leave it behind. I don't want to look back when I'm old and be like, and what if I did do that year? Would my life would have been different, or what would have changed? And so I think just coming back is just leaving nothing on the table now. I want to do everything the right way, not leave anything on the table, and just take off.
It's a missed opportunity if you don't try to take advantage, right?
It is, yeah.
Like you'd be 45 years old someday and say, I could have won another title.
Yeah.
I could have gone and made more kids fans of wrestling or whatever.
That's true, right? Yeah. And I think just by the name of me going out there, I think is going to be a really big thing. And wrestling has grown so much, but there's so much more to grow. You know, the average person has never watched a wrestling match. And so my thing is, how can if you turn on the TV at Sunday, how can a casual viewer look at this and be like, who can I watch? And I want to be the person that they see on the face, like smile good, everything looks nice, and going out there and dominating. Yeah, and that is, it can become appointment. Like once you're hooked, right? Yeah. So, Gable wrestles, the Gophers wrestle Thursday night, the Gophers wrestle Sunday. I got to remember, if nothing else, set the DVR, but otherwise watch it. And you've talked a lot about this, even as back at your first stint, about the growth of the sport and how you've kind of wanted to help that. I mean, I remember Carver Hawkeye Arena gives you a standing ovation because, now I'll be interested. Are you guys at Iowa, or is it? They're here this year. They're here this year. Yes, they're here. Now that you're back, I'm wondering if they'll be as kind to you this time around as they were then, which I thought was a cool thing in wrestling. It was really nice. I hope Iowa keeps that same energy. I think so many teams are just really every team has their own fan base. That's what's so crazy about college wrestling. You know, when you go to the Olympics, everyone is rooting for the 6 guys that go. Yeah. So to win over a fan base that no one has ever won over before is crazy. So hopefully they come to Minnesota with that same energy and we can all show a lot of love to each other. I got a lot of love for Iowa. That's the first place I wanted to go when I was younger. And Tom and Terry Brands got it all down packed, and they got a really good team this year. So it's hopefully we can show up when we duel them and we can come out the win. When your first name's Gable, you kind of got to at least a little bit think about Iowa, very right? True. Yeah, very true. And remind me, you were named after Dan Gable? I was named after Dan Gable, yes. Dan Gable, who was a great college wrestler also at Iowa State. People forget that. He was a Cyclone first and then the longtime successful coach for Iowa. But I just thought that was such a cool night when you won down there, and then this sold out crowd shows you the appreciation because that's a wrestling group down there now. Yeah. And so I just thought that was cool. And now I wonder, as you come back and you're going to be in front of sold out, hopefully
Maturi Pavilion over the course of this year, and maybe where you go to other places on the road, that people will be excited, and you'll have that more growth and
of course,
that trendsetter again.
Yeah, of course. That'd be nice.
You have also commented a lot in terms of growing the sport, that I think the term you use often is put on a show. You want to put on a show. Why is that important to you? Is it all part of the growth?
I think put on a show was just something I started my freshman year, because I wanted to branch. Some people are big time in wrestling, and I didn't want to be big time in wrestling. I wanted to be big time outside of wrestling.
Yeah.
And so it was a factor of how can I get to the pinnacle of wrestling and then branch off into different avenues. So everywhere you go, there was a piece of, hey, Gable was here, just like the NFL.
Yeah.
And so I think the main thing about it was being able to understand who I am and understand what I can bring to the wrestling table. So putting on a show was just what I do all the time. But it's not just going out there and doing all the extra things. I do a lot of things behind the scenes that get me prepared for that. And it's hard, and a lot of days I don't want to do it, but you have to do it if you want to have that edge to go out there and have a great time.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. You make it look easy, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've been gifted with some incredible talent, but talent alone doesn't do it.
No.
What do you do to be so dominant? In addition to hey, God came down and said, you're going to be one of the greatest wrestlers ever.
Sure, of course.
There is also work, right? It isn't like, hey, I'm going to show up Sunday and just whip a guy and then call it a week.
No.
Like when you're done recording here, you're off to the weight room, right?
Yes, I am, yes.
Yeah. So take me through what a week looks like for you.
The week is consistent, Monday through Saturday. I don't stop. I'm on go all morning. I do like to do everything in the morning, and they know that too. So we jam pack it from 9 to 11, 10 to 12, but every day is a different thing. One day might be bike, one day might be lift, one day might be lift and bike, one day might be lift and rowing machine, Versa climber, wrestling, both at the same time. So it's like just what people really don't see is just like the breaking points that I push myself to show the crowd that like, hey, I want to show up for you.
Yeah.
And it's hard to really explain how deep it can get, but man, I put 2 feet in and it's head on for hours straight, and then I'll cut it at a time it needs to be cut at, and then I'll show up the next day and do it. But it really is Monday through Saturday. Some days we do Monday through Sunday. I don't care as long as I win.
Yeah. And that's the push. That's the drive. I asked you this in your presser on Monday, and maybe not everyone saw it, so I'm going to ask it again. The way I phrased it was, are you going to be a little nervous because you haven't been on a wrestling mat in competition for a while? And I'll let you answer it again how you answered it.
No.
Yeah.
No, I've never been nervous. I've always been anxious. I've always been the guy that shows up and be like, okay, can we wrestle? Just because I know what I can bring to the table. And I put in a lot of good time. And so the fact of you got the jitters is great. I love having the jitters, and I love having that my blood pressure get high, my heart rate go crazy. Yeah. So I think just being able to understand that I've been here before, I've done it before, and it's not like I just stopped wrestling too. And I think a lot of people forget, like when I left in 2022, I went to Final X a year later, and I wrestled a freestyle, 2 freestyle matches against Mason Paris, and made the world team, but didn't go. So it's really been a year and a couple months for me for not being on the mat. But over time, I've been coming into the wrestling room just secretly and just being able to just get my feet wet. So.
And what you had been working out, what's the name of the group you've been working out with? I mean, it's here.
The Gopher Wrestling Club.
Yeah,
yes.
Gopher Wrestling Club. And so that has helped just kind of keep the rust off, right?
So I've been easing into it for a long time now. And we've been knowing about me coming back for a few months.
Yeah.
And so I slowly started getting back into it. And when I was playing football, I was 300 pounds. And so I had to get the weight off.
Yeah.
And then get back to acclimated of doing matches and then everything else. So it was a process.
What's your ideal weight? If you, where do you want to be?
265.
265 to wrestle, and there'll be guys bigger than that, right? That you're going to wrestle against. So, but see, that's where you think between the quickness and the strength and the size, that's the proper spot for you.
That's been the perfect weight for me since I came into the university. Yeah. But now getting up to that 300 pounds at the NFL, I mean, I put on a lot of mass that I needed. And so I put it on and then I cut it back off. And so I'm excited to new pop is there.
See how that goes.
I'm excited for that new pop.
Also, that you're a little older now, and you'll be wrestling young guys. Like when you come in as a freshman, you're wrestling guys older, so the tables are turned. So one, you're already one of the best. Two, now you've got some experience on these guys. What's that going to be like? I mean, you're going to step on the mat, and there might be some dude over there going, "Oh man, I'm wrestling a man here." Right?
Yeah. I mean, when I was 18, I came to the University of Minnesota. I didn't register. Then I wrestled a guy named Anthony Cassar twice, and Anthony Cassar was, I believe, 24 years old when I wrestled him.
Yeah.
And now guys are freshmen coming in at 21. So it's a lot different. It's really different now. You know, guys are getting held back in high school just to get a better opportunity to go to a new college and university. So I don't see much of a difference.
Yeah.
And honestly, there's guys probably older than me out there too. So, I mean, it's definitely, I'm one of the highest in the middle ground, but who knows?
But that's good, right? I mean, that's good. You're going to be able to have. Now, you mentioned the Penn State guy. Mm-hmm. You're, I think, 85-2, right?
Yes.
You got a 58 match winning streak. Does that one still eat at you?
No. That one
accepted it.
Yeah, that one made me who I am today, and I got no problem with it. I had no problem with it at the time it happened, just because. He was a better guy both times.
Yeah.
And
6 years older, it sounds like.
Just a couple years older, too. Years older. I got no problems with it. I mean, he shaped me into the wrestler I am today, and he definitely pushed that curve.
Did it drive you?
Oh, yeah, by far.
Yeah, I was curious how that, because sometimes when you've had the success you've had, losses can just eat at you forever, and other times people are like, hey, all right, shake hands and get better.
It's fine with me.
That's the way to go. Let me mention Affinity Plus here. That they're one of our great sponsors on the Go Gopher podcast. They've been proudly serving Minnesota since 1930. If you're a current Gopher student and a proud Gopher alum, you're eligible to join this financial that wants to build a meaningful banking relationship and put you first. You can meet with a local employee at any of their branches statewide, including one right here near campus on University in Minneapolis. To learn more and find other ways to connect, visit affinityplus.org/Go Gophers. That's affinityplus.org/Go Gophers. Affinity Plus Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA. People-centered banking, perfect for Gophers. And Gable gets a gift card from Affinity Plus for his appearance today. So we thank them for their support of the Go Gopher podcast and Gopher athletics in general. Kind of fun. Sunday will be the opener. This Gopher team, the new rankings came out this week.
Yeah.
Hey, who knew? There's a new number one heavyweight in the country, just randomly popped in there. Of course, Gable Steveson is that, but the team also popped up a little bit in the rankings. How good now do you think this maroon and gold unit can be?
I think a few young guys got to show who they are, and when they show who they are, I think we could be top four. Just with me coming back in, it puts a lot of points in our back pocket, but it's a team thing at the end of the day. It is individual, but we do need a team to step up. And so there's 9 other guys that got to go out there and do their thing too. And I believe in all of them too. So hopefully we can put the pieces together one by one. And by the time March comes, we'll be ready to get what we need.
Yeah, and it's a little different. I mean, your dual ranking and the tournament team ranking, because as you say, you got points in the pocket. If you would take it all the way to the end, that gives a lot of points. If other people kind of follow along, you can be awesome in tournament play. Mm-hmm. In dual rankings or in dual tournament, you get one match, and then now if you score bonus points and all that helps too. But I think maybe in the tournament thing is where you can make your biggest impact, right?
Yes, of course. I think the last time I wrestled in 2022, I had like 25 points.
Yeah.
So if we could just add up some more and have a few guys get on that podium, I think there's a really good shot at something great. And then that leads into next year when new guys want to come in, and I think that shocks the program back to where it needs to go. Yeah.
Your head coach, Brennan Egan, was with you in your Monday press conference, and he talked about the idea that just your presence on the team can drag guys with to, this is what excellence looks like. Oh, this is how hard you got to work. Oh, that's a move he knows. Maybe he can help me with that. But whatever it is, how much can you drag your teammates along now to get to the pinnacle?
Hey, if they want to grab the hip and run to the end, they can grab the hip and run to the end. But hopefully me coming back has got that juice in them to show like there's more eyes on you now. And when I go out there and there's more eyes, I perform better. And so hopefully they got that same mentality. And we got a lot of good young guys. I'm excited for them. I'm excited for what we can bring to the table Sunday, and I'm excited for every duel after that, because now we're a team in the Big Ten that people have to worry about now.
Yeah. Have you studied it all? Like, okay, here's the heavyweights around the Big Ten. Here's the heavyweights around the country. Here's my competition. Not much.
I have. I think a lot of the guys I'm familiar with, a lot of them are just new from high school. So it's definitely cool to see a new cream of the crop come along, and hopefully after this year they can take over and do their thing. But just it's fascinating to see how fast time goes and how new the weight class is.
Yeah, and from that standpoint, then you got to figure that some of these guys, heavyweights, are like excited for the year. Yeah. And then last week they're like, oh, man, I thought it might win the title. Now, who knows, right? You never know. Mm-hmm. I mean, nothing's guaranteed, but you've thrown a monkey wrench into the whole thing here, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, it's really fun, but nothing's guaranteed. You know, I show up every day to die on the mat. And if you're not ready to die on the mat, then there's a problem. Yeah. So every week I'm ready to go out there and die for something, and it means more to me going out there and dominating somebody, and showing the crowd that you got a guy that's ready to win. And that mentality is going to go for all the other 9 guys on the team, and you'll see it'll wear off.
Yeah, and when you have
no, it won't wear off. It'll wear on them.
It'll wear on them, no doubt. You got that right. When your last year, or the last time, I shouldn't say last year. This will be your last year, but the last time you were with the Gophers in 22, the only points you gave up were on purpose, right?
Yes.
Think about that.
Accident, yes.
You weren't taken down. No one, and I guess you had the one penalty point at Michigan.
Yes.
Which there's a little bit of a story behind that one, right? Yeah. If ever, you got to stake your claim to dominance, and sometimes there was that had to happen. So, I think about that. I mean, how does that work? I mean,
it's just time. Just knowing the. It's really hard to explain, but just knowing the wrestling mat. Like a lot of greats in their sports know where to go, when to go, and how to do it. And I think just me being a part of wrestling for so long and just seeing so many greats wrestle and just watching them, I think I got a taste of, you need to do this in the first period. You got to do this in the second period. Third period, I need you to ramp it up more. And by the time third period comes, I want the guy to just feel all the pressure and feel the crowd. And so I think that's why it's been a great thing for me to put on a show, because when the crowd gets into it, because then it just deteriorates everything else. And you don't think about nothing. You don't think about you're tired. You don't think about your legs are hurt. All I'm thinking is, if I do this next takedown, they're going to cheer louder.
Yeah. And you impose your will. I mean, that has to be such a great feeling. I talk about it with football, too, where an offensive line just grinds, and then that last drive, and the Gophers have done this a lot over the years with Muhammad Ibrahim, especially, where, okay, you got an 8-point lead, 7-point lead, fourth quarter, just put together an 11-play drive with 10 handoffs, and you've imposed your will.
Yes.
I've watched many of your matches, and by the middle of the third, if it lasts that long, the dude's just laying there. He's like, just get this over with, because I know if I try something, he's going to let me escape, and then he's going to take me down again. And then he's going to let me escape, and then he's going to take me down again. So that's got to be a great feeling, just knowing that you've, in essence, and wrestling is the gladiator sport. Yeah. You get a guy to quit on the mat in wrestling.
I like it.
You've accomplished something.
Yeah, I like that factor of, for me, it's do or die. I mean,
yeah.
If you wanna win, you're gonna have to kill me. So it's weird to say, but it's just how I always thought about it. And I like that the style of just going out there and just dominating and yanking the heads and taking guys down and putting that pressure on them and showing the crowd that this is what it is.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's peak standard, and I've always wanted to be peak standard.
Yeah. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about the time from 22 to now.
Yes.
You had the time in the WWE.
Yes.
You mentioned Monday the timing wasn't right. You had some, I mean, you were on TV. You did some good things. Take me through why the timing didn't hit there.
I think it just goes back to what happened when I left wrestling. You know, I tried to get back into it, and you don't want to be. Now that I look back on it, you don't want to be 1 foot in, 1 foot out of anything.
Because at the time you were wrestling for the Gophers and kind of going along with WWE in terms of all right, we're going to fly you in for an appearance and you're going to wear the gold medal or whatever.
Yeah, right? Just don't be 1 foot in, 1 foot out. If I got the opportunity to do it again and do it both feet in and not have to worry about anything on the backside, I would love to do it again. And like I said Monday, there's no hard feelings for me. And business is always going to be business, and time's going to move on. So you got to move with time. You got to adapt. You got to become what you want to become in a short span that you have.
So the door's not necessarily closed on potentially down the road you putting both feet in on that.
For me, no. Yeah. If it's close for them, then I can't stop what they have. Yeah. But I mean, I've got a lot of love for what WWE has, and I think the product is great. The guys are great. The company's in a good spot right now, and so there's no hard blood for me. So if the door is still open, the door is still open, and I won't know until that time comes.
Yeah. What was the experience like though, meeting some of those dudes and being part of the show?
You meet a lot of people. You meet a lot of famous people. I met The Rock in person. I mean, a lot of cool people, and definitely a lot of guys that are trying to push that business in the right direction. So, like I mentioned, business is always going to go forward, and if you don't want to go forward with it, time will pass. But hopefully one day, maybe. I'm just not sure.
Yeah. Buffalo Bills.
That was cool.
How was that?
Amazing.
You got into a game, right?
I got into 3 games.
Three
games. Yes. Buffalo was really good. When I just got done. I just got out of WWE, and I was helping someone move some boxes, and then I got a call from one of my friends saying, "Hey, Sean McDermott wants you to come play football and try out," and he's the head coach at Buffalo.
Yeah.
So I never put on football cleats. I went over there, tried out. I just didn't know what to do. He just saw me have fast twitch, and he saw me moving. And him and Brandon, being the GM, were just like, "Hey, do you want to try?" And it took a little bit convincing because I never played. Going from never playing to playing on the highest level is
you're
crazy.
putting yourself out there.
Yeah,
right?
and if you mess up, it's just like, oh, maybe you wasn't ready. So it was fun. It was a great time. They gave me the best chance possible. Just didn't cut out at the end, and it happens. To make a 53-man roster on a team that's 9-2 right now, and they just beat the Chiefs. You got Ed Oliver, who's a star player, and Daquan Jones, who's been in for 11 years, and they just drafted Dwayne Carter. That's a hard place to even make a D-line room. So, and it was fascinating, though. I love the experience, and shout out to everybody that made that happen. I played the 3 games. The first game, I got a tackle and a rush. Second game, I think I got in for like 1 snap. And then third game, I had like 2 tackles and 3 QB rushes and 2 QB hits.
You're feeling good.
I was feeling good. I mean, I was going in the right direction.
Yeah.
And I would love to keep playing. I mean, like I mentioned Monday, if there was a futures deal available, I would definitely love to try that out. After that, I went to the Indianapolis Colts. I went to the Ravens. The Ravens were going to take me the same day, and I was going to be on practice squad. So I would never been here.
Yeah.
But they had a DN get hurt, so they had to fill in that spot.
Yeah.
That would have been lovely. And then a few weeks ago, I had the New Orleans Saints reach out. So it's definitely.
So that door's not closed at all.
Maybe it's not closed. I mean, I just need a little more time, a little more practice, a little more reps, and maybe it'll open back up. But like I said, time never stops. So
why do you think you never played football? Like
my mom never let me.
Is that right?
My mom never let me. She was too scared. She was like, "You're already doing wrestling. It's already too hard. I don't want you to get hurt playing football." And I think at the time she didn't understand football. But when I started playing for Buffalo, she finally got the grasp of like, okay, like football's football. We know that. Like anything can happen. But she definitely got the grasp and started liking it. And so that was kind of nice.
So the practice squad would be, I mean, that'd be ideal, right? Because then you're not out, you're learning.
Yeah.
And it's a low risk learn at that point, and you're around the team.
There's nothing wrong with practice squad.
Yeah.
People think there's something wrong with practice squad.
No.
Just it's the bottom of the bottom.
Well, and particularly in your situation where you're learning football like literally here at this point.
I just needed more time. I just needed a few more weeks to get acclimated to football and actually see practice against the ones and then consistently, because in training camp, you get thrown out there for 3, maybe twice a practice. Yeah. And some days I would get out there for 10, some days I'll get out there for 1. And it just catered to who it needs to be catered to.
Right.
But if I had a few more weeks, I feel like I could definitely push through that 53 and be playing.
And football is kind of one of those sports, too, where the coaches or the GMs or whoever, they have a unique ability. They see you and they see, okay, he can do this. He's got this. He's mentioned fast twitch. He's strong. He's quick. He obviously, if he's going to get your hands on you, he's going to tackle you. He knows how to take people down. I think there's something that'll work with, and the practice squad is designed exactly for that.
It is
to work guys through.
It was a perfect situation. I would love to be on a practice squad. There's nothing bad being on a practice squad. Yeah. You're still on the team. You're still in the building. If any team from the outside wants you, they can activate you for 3 games, which is kind of cool too. So. Yeah. If I can maybe put my foot back in the door, that'd be cool. That'd be cool.
For sure. So MMA, John Jones says you might be a champion, right?
Yeah, shout out to John Jones.
Take me through that thought. Is that something that at least is? I mean, you've done so much here.
I would love MMA. I would love MMA. John definitely put a spark in me. Before I was coming back to wrestling, me and John were talking just casually, and I mentioned coming back to wrestling, and he was really big on it just because he was just like, you need to get back to where you were. And he understood it too. And we had a deep talk about it. And he understood everything just because he's been in spots where the highs and the lows, and maybe he didn't like something at the time. And so he's been in a lot of great spots too. So I talked to him about it. I was just like, hey, John, I think about wrestling again. And he was excited for it. And when I saw him get excited for it, I was just like, wow, like the best fighter of all time is getting excited about a kid wrestling again. And he wants to see that. And then as time went on with him, he just was big on like, yeah, I think you should fight. I think you should get into it. And then what really cemented it for me about going to MMA and being in that field was when I went to the UFC fight and I watched him. Watching him win live was crazy, but also watching like the effect of how he hit the magnitude of John Jones is just powerful. Yeah. And I've always saw myself as bigger than who I was. And I like that feeling of this can be you.
Yeah.
And then me holding his belt and getting that cool treatment, I was just like, man, it's one of a kind.
Yeah. Why do you think wrestlers have translated into that sport so well?
I feel like a lot of people don't grow up wrestling, and a lot of wrestlers are built different. You got, now in the UFC, you got the Dagestani wrestlers that are really big, the American wrestlers that are doing their thing too. So I just think a lot of people don't grow up wrestling. It's easier to teach a wrestler how to box than it is to teach a boxer how to wrestle.
Because wrestling's such a big, wrestling concepts, right? Skill sets, so important in that, right? I mean, you put a sleeper hold, whatever the hold might be, or you take a guy down and beat his brains in. There's some advantage to being a skilled wrestler in the octagon, I guess, right?
I loved it. I love putting on the gloves. I mean, the first time I put on the gloves, it was just felt like it was normal.
Yeah.
And then I like that feeling of hitting the mitts and hitting guys and trying not to take punches and boxing and seeing where the punches are coming from. It was a new experience, and I really liked it a lot, and it definitely put that burn into me. And being next to the greatest is definitely going to fire you up too. So
For sure. So if you've trained a little, it sounds like, with that, you haven't had any like matches or anything.
Nothing crazy, no.
Do you think that training? I'm just going to ask this as a joke because I like to throw a dumb joke into a podcast every now and then. Do you think you'll be on the wrestling mat and feel like you want to kick a guy this year?
It might happen. It just depends what he's. No, I'm playing. Probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
Self-control.
Right. Yeah, self-control there. You might feel like you want to kick a guy.
Maybe, yeah.
But I would think for a wrestler that would be some freedom, right? After you're basically using your hands and your legs so much through your sport. Now you get into this ring or octagon. You can kick, punch. I guess you can't bite, but you can do anything you want. You can elbow, knee a guy.
Yeah, maybe headbutt if you
all
want
those
to.
things you kind of wanted to do over the course of time. Did you watch the Tyson?
I did. It was cool. I mean, I think what Jake Paul has going on, I'm a big guy on having people see you and marketing and stuff like that. And Jake has done a crazy job with having people see boxing. And do I like that he went against Mike Tyson? Because the Mike Tyson we all know is the baddest man ever.
You're right.
No, but I mean, just what he did for Mike and what he did for everything else is just a crazy thing.
Pretty cool. Did you watch the fight, the women before that? I don't remember the name.
That was wild.
That was the best fight I think I've ever seen.
That was crazy.
This woman has her eyeball basically hanging out.
And she's getting headbutted and everything.
When you said headbutted, that's what reminded me of the whole thing. But she doesn't care. They're just throwing haymaker after haymaker.
I watched 5 rounds of them just teeing off.
It was nuts. It was great.
Crazy.
Yeah, in fact, I think I want to go rewatch it. I got to find it somewhere just because it was so good.
Way too fun.
Of a fight. Let me mention one more sponsor. Deer hunting season is here. It's time to own your odds with OnX Hunt. It's the GPS hunting app trusted by millions of hunters. With the Hunt app, you'll have access to nationwide public and private land ownership info, waypoints, tracks, and much more, all at your fingertips. Go to onxmaps.com/hunt. That's onxmaps.com/hunt to sign up today. A couple of final thoughts here with Gable Steveson, who's making his return to Gopher Wrestling. The season debut comes Sunday at Maturi Pavilion, 1 o'clock. Tickets at gophersports.com. How often do you get reminded of the 2021 Olympics, the gold medal?
All the time.
Every day, do you think?
All the time. It's actually crazy. I think about it. It's just you watch a lot of people do successful things, and then you get put into a spot where you do it, and you never think about like the after effect of it. And you look back at like a lot of big time athletes like Michael Phelps winning at the last second or just dominating a race, and people still talk about it. Now it's on commercials, it's on the news everywhere. So to have that last second takedown be like some people's memory, like people really remember that. Yeah. And I think that's what changed a lot for me too, just because you didn't just win a tournament. You won in like the craziest form that probably has ever been there.
Right? Yeah. I mean, nuts.
And so people remember that comeback, and it's just, I wish I would have went out there and won 10-0, but it just wasn't like that, and it was 0.2 seconds left on the clock.
And it's a little, that's freestyle, right? You were in freestyle, so that's a little weird because you were in control of the match, and then it was just like a 15-second deal, and all of a sudden I'm like, what the heck happened there? And so it kind of, you were in control, and then boom, boom, boom. Now you're not.
Yeah.
And then you end up back in it. It was amazing.
It just freestyles back and forth. And 1 second I'm winning, the next second I'm like, oh, second's not bad, but I can't. No, I can't.
You weren't
do
going to
second.
take it.
No,
Yeah.
I can't.
Not
I came
acceptable.
too far for second place.
Yeah, and the next thing you know, I was at an event we hosted for part of my other work with the Minnesota News Network. We hosted a bunch of news people in September for speaking or for seminars and different things about news. And so these are veteran news reporters who have seen it all. They don't get fazed by much. Tyler George, the Olympic curler from Duluth, he was one of the speakers. He brought his gold medal. And so people who have seen it all don't get fazed by much. He brought that thing out, and these hardened news people were all like kids. They all needed pictures. They all needed to hold it. Have you had that sense when you ever bring it out and people just like lose their minds?
I haven't brought it out in a long time, but when I do bring it out, people love seeing it.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's definitely one of a kind.
It's almost like a religious experience when you see it, because you got this patriotism feeling.
Everything, yeah. It's all in one.
Yeah.
It definitely is all in one.
It was great. Their Olympics are in the U.S. in 28. You keeping an eye on that?
I'm keeping an eye on it. I would love to be a part of that. That'd be really cool, especially with it being in the United States. At that time, it's just where the career path takes me. I would love to be a part of that, though.
Is part of your comeback here, I'm not saying all, but maybe a tiny bit fueled by let's get back on the mat, get reestablished, and this can help me dive toward a bunch of stuff, but maybe
100%,
the Olympics.
Yeah, I think it just, me getting back on the mat was definitely just to show the world who I am again, and keep pushing me forward, keep pushing me where I want to go, because at the end of the day, I would love to open a wrestling club in Minnesota and have it called Steveson Wrestling and put it in a nice spot. And me coming back to wrestling definitely helps that side, and definitely helps kids establish the newer generation. I'm saying newer generation like I'm old, but just the newer group of kids that like are starting to wrestle can see, hey, Gable Steveson, he's got a club called Steveson Wrestling. Let's put it together and let's start going there. And so we can have all the access to the Gopher Wrestling Club, Gopher Sports, and all the D1 places that are going to reach out to me about having these kids come to their schools. And so I want to build like a powerhouse school for wrestling and have it in Minnesota and be a part of Minnesota. And my end goal with this was always to do everything I can, and then I would like to be the head coach at Minnesota. Yeah, I know Egema is right now, so I don't want to ruin that. But it'll be cool if I could be the head coach, and maybe if I got to a point, have like a Deion Sanders effect, and really have just everything just built in house and have everything just take off. So that would definitely be the perfect end path for me. Yeah. Well, you could think about the path your namesake of Dan Gable. As a coach, he was even more successful as a coach than a wrestler. Think about all the team titles they won. Cale Sanderson is right. I mean, Cale was just successful overall. I mean, that dude was unbelievable at Iowa State. Then he got them back on the map as a wrestler, then as a coach, and then what he's done at Penn State, and that's going to be a target for you. Let's go get the Nittany Lions at some point this season as well. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool, no doubt about it. Last one. Have you thought about or thought that maybe you could get into acting? I've always wanted to be on TV. I love commercials. I do the Blaze Bank commercials. Yeah, and I really like those. And we just did a new batch of them that'll come out in January. Yeah, I love doing commercials. I love having that camera in front of me and me just being something else instead of just being me. I think so. This is my opinion. I watch you and you're a showman. Yes, that's a compliment. I love it. Right? You're a good-looking dude. You're an Olympic gold medalist. You're a successful athlete. You're a confident guy. I think it translates. Like you could be in movies or TV shows or commercials or what have you. Hopefully one day, if the stars aligned, I would love to push that, and I think it'd be really cool. I've always wanted to be in stuff like that, and if any local companies want me to be in a commercial and go on TV and be cool and be nice and funny, I would love to. And bring it on, right? It's always what I want to do. With NIL now, you can do it all. You can. Yeah, you can do it all. Well, Gable, you are off to a weightlifting session because the championships don't come for free. No, they don't come for free. They don't come for free. So you're going to go put in some work. It was so cool to catch up. I know we had done our Gopher talks over the years, and it's been fun. And this and a little bit more of a long form session was awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Yep, thank you. He's Gable Steveson. It's episode 148.
My thanks again to Gophers superstar Gable Steveson for sharing his thoughts with us on the Go Gopher Podcast. He makes his season debut this weekend, and we look forward to watching him pursue perfection and domination once again this year on the wrestling mat. Episode 148 is presented by Sunbelt Business Advisors and True North Mergers and Acquisitions. If you're buying or selling a business, visit sunbeltminnesota.com or tnma.com. We're also partnered with Affinity Plus Federal Credit Union, a locally member-owned full-service financial invested in you. You can learn more at affinityplus.org/Go Gophers. That's affinityplus.org/Go Gophers. They have an award-winning mobile app, so check that out as well. And Cub is a proud sponsor of Gopher Athletics for over 20 years and a proud supporter of the Go Gopher Podcast with Mike Grimm. Cub, bigger savings on the items you love. OnX Hunt also sponsors our show. Again, I'd invite you to listen to past podcasts, and right now, please click that subscribe button to the Go Gopher Podcast. It's free to subscribe and free to listen at any time. And please share the link to the podcast with others so they can subscribe and listen as well. And if you enjoyed the show, please let us know on social media with some positive feedback. We'll talk again next week.